I never thought I'd see a Porsche get crushed into a cube of scrap metal, but that's exactly what happened because of me. The look on Karen Anthony's face, the HOA president who swore she would make my life hell, was something I'll never forget. She screamed like I'd murdered her child, and in a way maybe I had. But the truth is, she and her family brought it on themselves. Let me rewind and tell you how it all began. I bought my condo because I wanted peace and quiet. A simple life with my wife Jill, my old Ford F-150, and a deeded parking spot number 27 right by the elevator. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. Then came the Porsche. Lipstick, red shiny, like a jewel, low to the ground, like some kind of spaceship, and every morning it was parked in my spot. My truck, moved over to guest parking, shoved out like trash. At first I thought it was a mistake, maybe some clueless neighbor. But no, it was Fred Anthony, 20 years old, slick hair, smug smile, tossing his keys in the air like he owned the place. He climbed out without even looking at me. I left him a polite note, even added a smiley face telling him spot 27 was deeded to my unit. The next day, the note was gone. The Porsche was back. My truck was in exile again, so I confronted him. "Hey, I think you missed my note." He barely looked at me. "This is my spot. My mom said so." And there it was, his mom, Karen Anthony, queen of the HOA. The woman who thought the bylaws bent to her will. With all due respect, I said the deed to my home says otherwise. "Talk to my mom." Fred smirked and walked away. That night I told Jill. She's the calm one, the strategist. She listened, tapped her pen on a notebook and said, "We are not slashing his tires, we are not yelling in the garage. We are going to handle this the right way." So we gathered receipts, pulled the bylaws, and documented everything. But the Anthonys weren't just arrogant, they were invasive. One day, I found out they'd actually moved my truck by using a valet key I'd hidden in a magnetic case under the wheel well. They had broken into my truck to steal my spot. That's when it got personal. Jill's voice was ice. "That crosses a line." I was already past the line. I set up hidden cameras, captured footage of Fred parking George Karen's husband, crawling under my wheel well to grab the key, moving my truck. It was a family operation. We had them cold. We sent certified letters, put up official tow-away signs approved by property management. We did everything by the book. So when Fred rolled in the next morning, smiling at my signs like they were a joke, I picked up the phone and called the tow company. 20 minutes later, a flatbed rumbled into the garage. The driver strapped the Porsche down with quiet efficiency. And just as the car was being pulled up, Fred appeared. His smirk vanished. "Hey, what the hell are you doing? That's my car." The tow driver didn't blink. "This gentleman says you're in his spot. He's got the paperwork." Fred's face twisted with rage. "You can't do this." He stormed at me, fists clenched, shouting, "Call him off right now." "No," I said, calm, steady. "I warned you. I left notes. I told you in person. I sent letters. There are signs right there." And then he shoved me, hard enough to make me stumble back. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed his shirt, my fist bunching the expensive fabric. "You want to try that again?" I growled. For a second, real fear flashed in his eyes. The tow driver stepped between us, pushing Fred back, and then the elevator dinged. Out came Karen George right behind her. Karen's voice cracked like a whip. "What is the meaning of this? Take my son's car off that truck right now. I am the president of this HOA and I forbid this." The tow driver didn't even look at her. "Ma'am, the deed says otherwise. Vehicles being impounded. Pick it up at our lot. Have a nice day." And with that, the Porsche disappeared up the ramp. Karen stood speechless for the first time in her life. Fred looked ready to cry. George just glared at me like he wanted to kill me. But Karen recovered fast. She straightened her blazer, pointed a manicured finger, and hissed, "You've made a very big mistake." Wednesday, 7 p.m. Be at the HOA meeting. We'll be discussing your violations. "My violations," I said, stunned. "You'll see." The room that night was tense. Jill and I came prepared with a binder, photos, bylaws, certified letters. Karen launched into a speech painting me as some rogue neighbor who harassed her visiting son. She slammed the gavel like it was a courtroom. But Jill stood calm and clear, reading directly from the bylaws, proving the signs were legal, the deed ironclad. And that's when Karen snapped. Her voice dropped, venom dripping. "This has nothing to do with a parking spot. You ruined my husband's career. You cost him everything." The room froze. George stood his jaw tight. "You know exactly what you did," he said. And then it hit me. 10 years ago, I was an inspector on a construction site riddled with safety violations. The foreman had fought me every step of the way. His name, George Anthony. My report had been damning. He was fired. Months later, he was injured on another job. They lost everything. For a second, I doubted myself. Did I ruin this man's life? Did I deserve their hatred? I felt like I'd been shoved underwater, gasping. Maybe I was the villain in their story. Maybe I should back down. But Jill squeezed my hand. "You did your job. People could have died. Don't let them rewrite the truth." That was the turning point. Karen wasn't fighting for justice, she was clinging to a grudge, and she was weaponizing the HOA to wage war. From then on, the petty battles came daily. Bright orange violation stickers slapped on my truck, calling it a commercial vehicle. Notices for Jill's wreath on our door. Plants mysteriously knocked over. And the rallies, Karen holding community solidarity protests outside our window. I struck back legally, but petty. Turning on the sprinklers during her speeches, drenching her and her followers. Firing up my leaf blower at exactly 8:01 a.m., shaking their bedroom walls with two-stroke fury. Each little act was revenge, and yeah, I'll admit it felt good. But it didn't solve the problem. The real weapon was still the Porsche. After 30 days, unpaid tow bills turned into a lien. The car would be auctioned. Public sale. Anyone could bid, including me. The day of the auction was hot, bright, tense. Car dealers scribbled on clipboards. Karen stood with her husband and son, pale and furious. She had a proxy bidder, some tough guy in a leather jacket. The bidding climbed fast. 30, 40, 50,000. At 60, it was just Karen's guy and one dealer. The dealer dropped out. The auctioneer raised his gavel. Going once, going twice. And then I raised my hand. 60,500. Silence fell. All eyes on me. Karen's face contorted like she'd swallowed poison. Her proxy turned to her, waiting for approval. She shook her head violently. They were out. The gavel fell. Sold to bidder 87. The Porsche was mine. Karen stormed over, hissing, "You couldn't just let it go, could you? You had to humiliate us." "All you had to do was pay the first tow bill," I said evenly. $250. You chose this. Fred's voice cracked. "What are you going to do, park it in my spot every day to rub it in?" I shook my head. No, this was never about the car, it was about the rules, about respect. 2 days later, the Porsche sat stripped at my friend's shop, its engine and electronics donated to a vocational school. Students would learn on it for years. The empty shell went to the scrapyard, and I watched calm and steady as the crusher descended. The sleek curves of the Porsche folded, shrieked, and collapsed into a square block of steel. That's when Karen appeared. She screamed at the fence, tears streaming. "What did you do?" "You killed his car, you monster." I looked at the cube, then at her. "No, Karen," I said quietly. Choices did. And in that moment, she was finished. The fury drained from her face. The power she'd clung to for years evaporated. She had nothing left. The war was over. Sometimes justice doesn't come clean or easy. Sometimes to stand your ground you have to be just as relentless as the people trying to break you. Respect the rules or be ready to face the consequences.